We got a big college sports headline this weekend. The Big 12 and UConn have re-engaged in conversations, and all indications are that the Big 12 commissioner wants this to happen. UConn wants this to happen. The Big 12 presidents are hesitant, skeptical that it makes sense financially. They've got to be won over. Broadly speaking, where are you at on conference realignment now? When you hear these types of stories, do you go, oh, wow, or is it just like, I don't even care just put them wherever they are? We've thrown so much out the window in the spirit of chasing the dollar that college athletics is basically unrecognizable now. Do you get interested in these stories, or is it just like too much? Texas in the SEC, Arizona's in the Big 12. None of this makes sense.
I think it's one of the greatest examples of hypocrisy we've ever seen in sports in this country. Just because of all the things we were told for so many decades about what college sports is and what it is not, right? And they always said it was not a business, but it's always operated as a business. And now it's even more so operating like a business to go out and make as much money as possible. And in doing so, listen, we live in a capitalistic society. And if your goal in capitalism is to turn a profit, you will always do what is best for you to turn a profit, including going back on guidelines you set for yourself from an operating standpoint. All of college sports has gone back on everything it has said before about what it would do or what it would not do. You had these conferences based on regional territories and geography. We said we don't want kids flying across country and missing class to go play in some game, blah, 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 blah. Well, they don't give a damn about that now because of how much money is being made. That just further proves they didn't care about the kids' education to begin with. They just did it on this veiled idea of amateurism and tradition and things of that nature. But as soon as there was an opportunity to make a boatload of money and not get negative backlash from the fans, they all jumped on it. I will say this about the SEC. They've led the charge in all of this. But at least from a geographical standpoint, for the most part, it's still the South. It may not be the Southeast, but it's still the South. You can't explain to me Cal and Stanford playing in the ACC. That makes no sense. 0 sense. Those kids flying from the Bay Area all the way across coast to coast and playing in the same conference as if they're professional teams. Even professional teams, Gary, don't do that, right? They may make a trip or two across, but they play in a division that is geographical.
Right.
They're not doing this in these conferences anymore.
No, and don't ever forget what the ACC stands for, Atlantic Coast. Cal is in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Literally the other day, we were on SportsCenter, and we were talking about the upcoming ACC season. And I did this lead-in, talked about the Atlantic Coast Conference, blah, blah, blah. But now you got 2 teams from the Bay Area and 1 from the heart of Texas. And nothing about that screams Atlantic Coast at all.
It's wild. And we'll look back on this. When they're doing the 30 for 30s, 30 years from now, you'll have smart people, even people who were involved in the decision-making process, on camera saying, yeah, we shouldn't have done this the way we did it. There was a better way to go about it. But what's done is done. You mentioned once they realized they could go get the money without the negative backlash from the fans, they did it. You're right. There's been no negative backlash. We heard for years, if the players ever start getting paid, I'm out. If the conferences realign in this way, I'm out. People aren't out. People still watch it. They go to the games. Yep. They still love it. Do you think the backlash ever comes, or is this evidence that it's not?
It's not. It's not coming at all. People love it too much. Think about, and you see this in sports, and you also see it in political campaigns. Think about someone you really like. You think they're beautiful. You think they're smart. You would love to be in a relationship with them. And because of that infatuation, you overlook their shortcomings. Yeah. You don't see the red flags because you are so infatuated with who that person is, or at least who you think that person is, that you're willing to overlook those other things because you have an affinity for them. That's what happens in sports, Gary. It happens all the time. We love our team so much that we can't see past their shortcomings, but we can easily point out the shortcomings of someone else, right? So Big Ten schools, when the SEC was expanded, or the ACC talking all that trash about what the SEC was doing, and then as soon as they had an opportunity to go and do it, they did it as well because they want to be part of something that they envision as being the best, and they will overlook shortcomings to do that.
The Gary Parrish Show, live weekdays at 10 a.m.